All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, you see it, guys, we're going to be doing a deep dive into black-green Perona. Okay, this deck has got a lot of hype around it going into OP07. It looks like it's going to be a very strong deck in the format once it gets certain cards, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But just to give you guys a heads up, a layout of the video. First, we're going to be looking at some deck lists that are doing well from the East, that did well in OP06 and now OP07 as well. Because there's a transition that happens between like a Don Quixote Pirates Navy package in OP06, excuse me, and then it transitions into a Land of Wano package in OP07. Very cool stuff going on there. We'll talk about as we get to it. So that's first, we're going to look at some decks from over in the East. Then we're going to go over 4 games on the sim of me playing just random games on the sim, not ranked or anything, just practicing with the deck, and we're going to talk over that and see how the deck functions and see how it works and all that good stuff. And then we're going to end with, you know, a deck analysis, breakdown, critique of it, and see what kind of options there are and just kind of go from there. So you know what you get into. Let's go ahead and dive straight into this, guys, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. A lot of stuff to talk about. So first and foremost, actually, before we get into it, I almost forgot, I just wanted to mention, if you check over on the One Piece Card Games website, which is english.onepiece-cardgame.com, Ian, for English, sorry, Ian.onepiece, yep. So a lot of stuff coming out. In October, we're getting all of the starter deck stuff, right? All of the starter deck stuff's coming out. A new, they haven't released all the cards that are going to be in these, and notice they don't even have like a cover art for these yet, or at least they haven't showed us yet. For the ST 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15. These are all 6 different colors for starter sets. And that will be very interesting. I'm really anxious to see what is in each one of these. Because who knows if in the, like just as an example, I'm not saying this is going to be in there, but what if in the ST20 deck, which is Charlotte Katakuri, what if they choose to put in Charlotte Katakuri, the character in here, the 8-cost character? I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying that would be absolutely incredible if they were to do something like that, and I feel like it'd be really good for the newer players trying to get into the game. They have a big opportunity here. Hopefully Bandai doesn't blow it, but you guys know how Bandai is. We'll have to see what happens. Okay, a few other things too. September, deep in the future here, that's when 2 Legends is coming out for us in the West. This is OP08 I'm talking about. And right before that in August, check this out. In August, they are going to be doing something called a treasure booster set. There's no picture. We don't know how this is going to look, but check it out, guys. For the first time, here is a set containing a random selection of previously released booster packs. That could be very fun, very interesting. People might bust open some cards in there that you otherwise could not get anymore because there's no more, there's no more printings of them. So this could be very nice for catching us up with cards we really need. What else? I think there was a few more things I wanted to talk about. Oh, in August as well, they're also going to have the 3D2Y OP0, or excuse me, ST14 starter set. This is the Luffy, the Black Luffy set. Another set with Black having Luffy as the leader, where this one, you're increasing your Dawn, as opposed to decreasing your opponent's Dawn and getting benefits that way. That should be very interesting. But again, just to put this into perspective, guys, let me get on a little bit further. In May, okay, we're going to get EB01, so that's coming out this Friday at the time you're recording this video. Then there is going to be steady releases like every single month, guys. A double pack set, whatever. This one I'm not going to go into, but then we got, so May, EB01, June, OP07. Then we're going June, July, there's a little bit of a lull period, like not a lot going on, but then June, July, then we get to August, Treasure Booster Set and ST14. September, Double Pack and OP08. Again, I don't know what these double packs are. I'll have to look into that, guys. I apologize. And then in October, more and more decks, more of the starter decks. So we have a lot on the horizon. Something for you to... Let's not dismiss that. Okay, now we can dive into Perona. Sorry about that, guys. I had to get that off, just so you guys know what's going on and what's coming up. So the first deck we're going to look at for Perona. This is a OP06 list, and it got first place in a major tournament, a Bandai 1,000 player tournament in Japan. I did watch the finals of this game and another one of this guy's games because they did live stream it, which you can check out on their the Bandai YouTube. or excuse me, the One Piece card game YouTube channel if you want to. And I have to say, the guy played very well who piloted the deck. And, hey, you don't just get first place at a random tournament because you're lucky. You have to have some skill. But there was a little bit of luck involved, too, in some of these, I think. Like, if I'm not mistaken, this was the game where his opponent was Katakuri in the finals, and he did not draw a single 2K counter the entirety of the game. Or maybe he drew like one or two. It was insane. But, hey, when you win, you win. And this deck is very solid. And this is the version that I recommend for anyone who's in OP06 currently right now. In OP07, it will change. We're going to look at those decks in just a second. But let me run through the list real quick, and we'll talk about it. First of all, let me talk about the leader, because this is a deep dive into a specific leader. So we're going to talk about this leader's effect, how it does with the deck, and how it, really is very, very powerful. So 5,000 power, 4 life, green and black leader. With activate main once per turn, you get to choose one of these effects. You can't do both. You have to choose one. You can either rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less, or up to one of your opponent's characters gets -1 cost during this turn. So very useful, very versatile leader there with that effect. And think about early on, guys. When your opponent is just playing out characters early on, like turn 1 and turn 2, where it's going to be a 4 cost or lower character no matter what, okay, you can just rest their character on turn 2 and swing into it. So you're able to really aggressively take control of the early game, turtle up, go to the late game, and drop some big, big characters. Okay, so that's the leader. Now, for this deck list, they're running 4 Borsalinos, 2 Kuzans, 2 Tashigis, 4 Suru, 4 Virgo. That's actually important. It's supposed to specifically be Virgo because he's Navy and Don Quixote Pirates type searchable. Remember that for later. 4 Branu, 4 Sabo, 4 Gecko Moria, 4 X-Drake, 4 Doflamingo, 4 Rosinante. This one, by the way, is also Navy and Don Quixote Pirates searchable. 4 Baby 5, 4 Ryoma, and 2, whoever wins this war becomes Justice. So, again, this is a Don Quixote Pirates Navy combo deck, or not combo, excuse me, but combination. Like that, this is running 2 different types, Navy and Don Quixote Pirates. Now, that is important. We're running 4 Brandus to search anything Navy, and we're running 4 Baby 5s to search anything Don Quixote Pirates. The only cards that are not searchable in this deck by either of them is just Gecko Moria, but that's Gecko Moria, right? You have to, I'm not saying you have to run it, but yes, this is a very, very important card to any deck running black currently. Very, very strong. But this deck, being black and green, it can go turn 4. Let's just say you go second, on turn 4 you have 8 Dawn. Okay, turn 4 Gecko Moria, turn 5 Doflamingo. That is a very, very powerful curve, and it's not like the turns prior aren't good, because you might go turn 2 Borsalino, or even Kuzan, and then turn 3 Sabo, or some similar, maybe some searches in another Borsalino, into turn 4 Gecko, into turn 5, turn 5 Doflamingo. Very, very powerful curve. And again, I recommend that people run this currently in OP06/EB01. I do think this list is slightly better. Not to say the version we're about to look at for Land of Wano is not still good, but it's missing one piece we'll talk about in a second. So that's the list. Very, very powerful. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below for any of this stuff. Like if you don't know what any of these cards do, just ask down there, and me or someone else will help you out as soon as we can. So that's that list. I don't want to spend too much time on this one because we are going to look at the OP07 version in today's video, especially on my games, or in my games on the sim. So just understand that real quick. Okay, so that was OP06. Very, very solid, and it won a massive tournament, guys. We can't dismiss that. And on here, we're going to look at 2. Let me look at this, see if this might have it, it might not. Excuse me. I just want to make sure this is the list. No, see, even going into OP06, or OP07, they still had not quite figured out what to run with whatever. Actually, I'm sorry. Look, this says it was all the way back in January. I don't know if this was OP07 or not, guys, but we're going to go to these top lists up here. Let's go to this first one here. This I know will be an OP07. Yeah, this is. So, basically what happened is someone discovered, through playtesting and through playing, rigorous playtesting and deck building, this card from OP07 opened up all kinds of new opportunities for black-green Perona. This is a 1-cost, 2,000 counter card. 0 power, who cares about that? It's a 1-cost, 2K counter. And it is a top 5 Land of Wano search. This is massive. Number one, because of its one cost. Number two, because it's a 2K counter. And number three, because of that ability to top 5 scry at the beginning of the game to get cards you need. So you see what's going on there, right? Early in the game, it's a searcher. Throughout the game, it's a 2K counter. And at the end of the game, it is also a one-cost character, which is important for another thing. And this deck's not running it. Some decks are, instead of running Eustace Kid, they're running Stussy, because what you'll be able to do is use your old Surus, the Surus on the board, or your Otamas, to just KO those cards and get value out of them with Stussy, a new character come out in OP07 that can KO any character on the board as long as you trash one of your characters on the board. So very, very solid stuff here. In fact, this deck is running Kuzan instead of Stussy, is basically what's going on. Okay, so let me run through this list real quick, and then we'll talk about it. And we'll talk about the new direction of the deck, because the deck has actually taken on a new direction since this tournament. This is in April 13th, and at the time we recording this video, it is April 28th. So a lot has actually changed in those 15 days from what I've seen. Just watching people, YouTubers from the East and all kinds of stuff. So let me go through the list real quick. So 4 Kuzans, 3 Borsalinos, 2 Surus, 3 one-legged toy soldiers, 4 Gecko Moria, 3 Izo, 4 Kazuki Momonosuke, 3 Eustace Kid, 3 Rosinante, 4 Ryuma, 4 Otama, 3 Bartolomeo. This is an OP07 card as well. 3 cost, 4,000 power, 1K blocker. Your turn once per turn. If a character is rested from your own effects, draw 1 card and discard 1 card. And that's if a character. Doesn't matter if it's yours or your opponent's. And then Kazuki Hiyori, Yamasan, and You Can Be My Samurai. This card here, guys, this is from OP01. This is a common event from OP01. It's a 1-cost card that has main, rest 2 of your characters, draw 2 cards. It doesn't have to be 2 Land of Wano characters. It doesn't have to be 2 green characters. And it doesn't have to be 2, certain cost characters. Any character. So, this card, early on, with your Surus and with your Otamas, value. Pure value. And think of it like this. If you also do it by resting your character here, or if a character is rest from your own effects, draw 1 and discard 1. So you'll be able to draw 2, and then it rested characters. Now you can do this effect to draw another 1 and then discard 1. And you have this 3-cost 4K blocker. It is very clean, guys. The list is very solid. And let me read this card for those who do not know. This is from EB01. This is coming out on Friday. 4 costs, 0 power, 1K counter. What's going on, right? Why is it 0 power? Well, because it has activate main, you may place this card into your trash and then place up to 1 cost 5 or less Land of Wano type character card other than Hiyori from your hand into play, then draw 1 card. So it acts as a cycle card, but it does more than that. It does a lot more than act as a cycle card, because what it is allowing you to do, like, yes, you can play out a 5-cost card like this, of course, because this is a Land of Wano character, but it's allowing you to set up bigger targets with your Ryuma from your Gecko Moria interaction. So hear me out. Because this is an activate main, you can now combo to get bigger cards out of the way with your Ryuma, because this slows down the on-play process into an activate main. So what you could do, theoretically, right? Let's just say, it's your turn, and, okay, let's just say you have 10 Dawn, whatever, and you need to KO a 7-cost character on the opponent's side of the board. Okay, well, just play out your Gecko Moria. Now you do have to have Gecko Moria and Ryuma in hand for the combo I'm about to tell you, or for the combo that I'm about to tell you. So you play out Gecko Moria for 8. You grab back Kazuki Hiyori and one-legged toy soldier. And these cards are both very easy to get into your trash. Do not hesitate in cycling out your Hiyoris with your Sabos, and do not hesitate to counter out for a 2K counter with your one-legged toy soldiers early on in the game, so that you can do this combo later. But you play out the Gecko Moria, you get back the one-legged toy soldier and the Hiyori. Now, before you use the Hiyori, very, very simply, you use the one-legged toy soldier first, because these are activate mains. These are not on-play effects. So, -3 to your character. So if it was a 7-cost character, right now they're down to 4 cost. Now we can rest it with our leader. Okay, now we can rest their character with our leader. Now we're going to activate our Kazuki Hiyori to play out a Ryuma to KO that character, and we're going to draw a card from the Hiyori's effect. Lots of things going on. This is a higher skill level deck to pilot than a lot of decks out there. Excuse me. But once you understand how it works, I think you're going to be in a very good position to just start, you know, doing very well. It's a very strong combo, and the card draw in this deck is wild, guys. The card draw in cycling, this version that we're looking at here is not running the Sabos, which I do recommend running, and it's not running the Anupes, which again I also do recommend running, and we'll look at it in a second. Okay, so that's what the list is looking like now. Tons of card draw, tons of cycling, tons of all that good stuff. Let's get into the games now. Let's go ahead and hop into some games and see how this deck plays out. Let me make sure we're on 2x speed. And actually, before I forget, let me move my camera over. That's the one that I forget the most. There we go. And right there. Okay. First game here, we're going against Blue-Purple Kaido, which I do think is getting better and better as the sets go on. It's getting access to more and more options. But yeah, we'll see. Okay, real quick. So I start off with an Anupe, which allows me to draw 2, trash 2. Right, because this is a thriller bark leader. We can do that. The Kaido swings in for 8. Very interesting. I play out another Anupe, trashing some cards from hand. I don't even need the second. You can be my samurai. I'm going to draw 2 here from that effect, tapping my 2 guys. Playing out Momonosuke, I'm just swinging for 5. He got a card from his life, and now it's his turn. He ignores my characters, which is a little bit... I don't think that's the best call. Let me just say that, especially when your leader effect can KO a character to ramp a Dawn. But he figured, I've got Onigashima, I'm just going to keep the pressure on and try to win this game before he goes into full-on turtle mode, which is a great idea. I swing 5 at leader. He's giving me cards from hand. I do another, you can be my samurai. Play out Ryuma, because I see he's not going to play any small characters. So I'm just going to play out the Ryuma as an aggressive character here. And I'm going to keep drawing cards. Again, notice how much cards I've drawn, and notice how many more cards I can draw in my hand. I've got 2 searchers, and then I've got 4 searchers, is how I should say that. And he is just ignoring my Momonosuke. He is totally disrespecting my Momonosuke. He left 4 Dawn open. He's probably going to play out something like an ulti or a page 1. Doesn't play out anything. I'm just scratching my head at this point, right? Do a top 5 search with my Momonosuke. Again, he's just completely ignoring that card. I'm just building up my bank of 2k counters. I'm in good position here. So now I'm going to start attacking. Swing 5, and swing 6, because I do want to establish a blocker here, depending on what, you know, and this will protect my board from a 10 cost. The 10 cost Kaido that can KO the entire board. So I swing up 5, swing 6. Okay, gives me a 2k counter. And now I play out Sabo. I can draw 2, trash 2. I've got Gecko Moria. I'm in a very good position in this game. I'm in a very good position. I'm just setting up my trash now for my Gecko Moria, or trying to. So here we go. I play out Sabo. Well, there goes his opportunity to just clean out my board, right? So instead he does a search, plays out a queen. That's a pretty good play there, I think. I think that's a pretty good play. Okay, let's see what he does. Swing 5. Okay, I don't want to take any more damage if I can help it. He plays out an ulti. This is a Animal Kingdom Pirates card as well, called Ulti, which has, look at your top 3 cards. You can draw 1 and then put the rest on the top or bottom of your deck in any order. Very, very strong effect there. Okay, so I'm feeling pretty set here. I have a feeling he's about to drop the Kaido on me, just because this guy wouldn't just be ramping for no reason, and it's one of the best reasons to run Blurple Kaido, in my personal opinion. I have seen deck lists that don't run the 10 cost Kaido that clears the whole board, but I think that card's pretty good. Okay, so I -2 to his queen, and I'm just going to start swinging at him here. Swing 5 at face. I don't want to attack his characters, believe it or not, because I want to discourage him from playing the 10 cost Kaido. And he will telegraph to me he's going to play the 10 cost Kaido if he swings for 5, 5, and 6 this turn. Okay, so I do all this stuff. I do at least have to get rid of this to, you know, get some value from my my character's effect here. And draw a card, stops 1 attack. And right here, I'm swinging in for 6. Did y'all see that? Swing in for 6 with my Sabo. Because, like I said, I have a feeling this guy's about to drop 10 cost Kaido. Okay, 1k counter out of this, no problem. 1k counter out of the next one, no problem. Oh, but first he does that. All of my cards go away because I can't really set that. Swing 5, so I 1k or 2k counter out of that because I don't have any other cards. Well, he can't play another 10 cost Kaido next turn. He won't have the Dawn. So I'm going to swing 7 at him to get some cards out of hand. Then I'm going to play out my Gecko Moria, and I'm just going to establish some cards here that can start beating on him and drawing me some cards in the process. So I do a Nupe to do a cycle, get rid of one of my 2Ks and my Momonosuke because I have a You Can Be My Samurai. And I'm pretty much good here, right? He cannot KO me this turn. It's just not realistic. Because if he only has 7 Dawn because he used his 10 cost Kaido last turn. Okay, now I know the game's over. So when he goes 12k, I can take both, and now there's basically no way in the world he can survive here. It's like, okay, let's just go 9, and then 9, and then whatever's left on Perona. Right, it's going to be 9 with Gecko Moria. That's going to be a bare minimum of 3 cards from his hand. Then 9 more with Ryuma, which will for sure go through. And okay, he can't even block out that one, so now we're going 16 face, GG. So hopefully you guys see, though, real quick, notice I did all those different things this game, and my hand is still completely full, right? The deck has a lot of gas. And we'll talk about some weaknesses as we go through. Let me go to the next video real quick while I'm talking. Okay, Perona versus Rob Lucci. This is a very good game. Let me make sure this one's at 2x speed. This is one of the longest games I've ever played on the sim. This was a very good game. Let me move this over so I can see myself. There we go. There we go. So this is a strong matchup. We are both very equally, suited to deal with each other here. We both have very similar card pools. He's running Gecko Moria. I'm running Gecko Moria. He's running Isho and Stussy, I believe. I am too. So we're running very similar decks, but he gets the CP engine and an extra point of life, whereas I get the Land of Wano engine and all the card draw that comes with it. So this was a very good game here. I do think Rob Lucci, like while we're talking about this, while we're just, the beginning of this game and the beginning of the game for any of the current decks is really all about setup. So while that's all going on, I'll explain. I think the top 3 decks in the format are going to be in OP07. We are talking about OP07, Rob Lucci, NL, and Rob Lucci / Gecko Moria. Excuse me. Rob Lucci / Gecko Moria, NL, and then Jewelry Bonnie. And then along with those, also in the S tier, somewhere within there, I think you're going to have Red Purple Law, probably Black Yellow Luffy, and maybe one other deck that I just can't. Maybe like a blue deck that's like starting to sneak in, whether it be Blue Doflamingo or Blue Boa Hancock, and potentially right outside of that is Black Green Perona. So we're just fighting for board here. We know how this game is going to go. Whoever can win the board wins the game. So he's taking out all my characters as he gets them. Excuse me. I swing 5 at life here. I'm going to play. I got to go second, which is nice. So that means I get to establish Gecko Moria first. And sometimes, guys, when it comes to a mirror match, or like, this is we're both playing, playing a version of a black deck. But in the match where you have a lot of mirrored cards, sometimes whoever gets down the strongest cards wins first. It is what it is. As the game goes on, I think there will be more variance involved. But for now, that's just kind of how it is. So I play out Gecko Moria, which gets me 2 bodies. One is a blocker. The other let me draw a card. And I'm in a pretty good position here. I have 2 more Gecko Morias to go through and a Stussy in hand. So I can pop anything he plays. I can refill my board nonstop. And this guy is deep, deep in the tank here, because he needs to make sure he does everything exactly correctly. So right here, he swings 6 into my Otama. I kind of want to save it. You saw I was about to block with my Borsellino. I was actually going to save it there, to be honest, and then just block out both attacks of my Borsellino if I needed to. Because I know he's trying to, there you go, I know he's trying to get rid of my, whatever his name is there, I can't remember his name, doggone it, Gecko Moria, there we go. But I don't think he's able to do it this turn. He's not able to get rid of it this turn, but imagine if I had saved, like hang on for 1 second and just imagine, if I had saved that Otama, and I go, like, yes, it would have cost me 2 cards in my hand to save it, but that's fine. And then I could have gone up to 10 Dawn here, I could have sacrificed my Otama with Stussy, and then I could have KO'd his Gecko Moria while maintaining the board that I have, and I just think that would have been a little bit better. I know it's a very slight difference, and if I want to, I can still do exactly what I said by playing out like a 1-cost Suru and KOing that to KO the Gecko, and I was going to say, but instead, okay, well this works too, actually. I totally forgot about this. So I do a double -2 here, 1 Suru, then a Suru from the trash, replacing the other one, playing out the Ryuma, and I'm able to KO it that way and save a card in hand. I do not remember that play, guys. I do apologize. But I think it would have also been a good play to be able to get out the Stussy then, and then I can use that combo I just used right there for later in the game. But that's good as well. I established 2 bodies. That works just as well. 6 into 7, I'm not going to let you have that for free. Again, 6 into 6. I know he's trying to do something now. He's probably going to play out a Stussy of his own here, maybe, or maybe another Gecko Moria. Okay, he's doing cost reduction, so it looks like he's going to do a Gecko Moria combo here to get rid of my whatever his name is there, my own Gecko Moria. So the Helmeppo combo into Spandine. He's going to get back a Rob Lucci. He just had to put back, like, think about it. He had to get two cards from his trash, right? One from Rebecca, one from Spandine, another one Rebecca can get back, and then 3 for Spandine's effect, and then 3 for Rob Lucci's effect. So he just got through like 9 to 10 cards from his trash. That's how powerful that combo is, and very, very strong. Okay, so right here, I'm just going to rest his Rebecca because my leader can just do that for free. So now I get to pick and choose what I want to attack into that's already tapped. So we'll go 9 into 6 here. That should be free. It is. Now 6 into 6 is not as free. So I'm like, right there I messed up. I meant to put 2 on my Ryuma. That was just a simple mistake, but it cost me because it should have been. I should have been able to get that the Rob Lucci, and that was not a mistake of like not thinking correctly. It was a slip. Like it was a mistake in that way. Because then I could have KO'd his Rob Lucci, and I could have got rid of the Rebecca. It would have just been a better all around play. So 9 into 6, you can have it. Excuse me. I'm not worried about defending that Ryuma there. He can have that because I can get it back later in the game with another, Gecko Moria potentially. And again, as you guys can see, this is just a pure... We haven't attacked each other's life. Like, that was the first time he attacked my life in like 2 or 3 turns, right? This is all about controlling the board. And when it comes to the mirror matches that have Gecko Moria, and I'll just say any deck that is kind of more of a mid-range to control deck, yep, just like it might imply, mid-range and control, you need to control the board, right? It is very, very important. Okay, so I'm going to swing. It looks like I'm going to try and take out this Rebecca because there's no reason to keep it around. But at the same time, maybe there was a reason so that you can't get it back from the trash with another future Gecko Moria. I play out Stussy here. I have to sacrifice my Ryuma, unfortunately. That was very unfortunate, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do. And now my opponent's back into like damage control mode. It's a very even game. He has 6 cards in hand. I have 6 cards in hand. We both have 2 life. I have 3 characters on the board, but it's his turn to take the initiative, right? It is his turn now to say, okay, here's how we're going to do things. Okay, swing 6. I'm going to 2K counter out. I'm not even going to rest my Borsellino because I don't want him to swing into it. Okay, minus a bunch of cost to my Gecko Moria. It looks like he has my Gecko Moria lined up to get KO'd. And he's probably going to do another Gecko Moria. And man, if he does, that will be the 3rd Gecko Moria this game, guys. Okay, so he did not have it. Oh, but he is going to be able to hit it with, I believe, Kaku. I think this is the turn where he plays out. So with Rebecca, he grabs back a card from the trash, plays out a 2-cost counter, pops it with Kaku because he still had 5 Dawn left. Very strong. And now he's coming in for 9. I'm going to have to take this. I could have blocked out, but I think taking it was the better call. I'd rather keep my bodies on the board at this point of the game because you never know when you might be able to just turn on the gas and take your opponent out. So I'm thinking at this point, like I've got 2 options. Either A, I can try to get the board back again, which is what I'm going to try to do here. He lets me have the Gecko Moria. Or the other option was B, I could try to go for game. But with 4 cards in hand and 2 life with only 3 attacks, that is very risky. It's ill-advised, right? It's ill-advised. But I do feel like I can survive one more turn here, at least. I can survive at least one more turn here. So I do an Anupe. I start cycling through my stuff here. I'm gonna play out the Sabo. So trash those 2 cards. I can't really tap cards anymore at this point in the game. Oh, actually, I don't play out the Sabo. That was risky, guys. That was very risky. But at the same time, he can't really take out my my Borsellino, right? It's not possible. Like currently, well, excuse me, unless he was playing Brook, the 6-cost Brook could have taken out my Borsellino there, and that would have been dangerous, and I probably would have lost the game from it or gone down to no cards in hand. But currently, for any deck that's running mono black, there's only one way to take out a card that cannot be KO'd, and that is with Brook, the 6-cost Brook from OP06, I believe it is. Okay, because it trashes the card, it does not KO it, which is different, right? No on-KO effects happen, and no excuse me, no un-KOable effects can save you. Okay, so he swings in for 5. I'm immediately thinking, okay, he's trying to, get me to use my blocker here. He pops my Yamasan, the 5-cost 7K vanilla Land of Wano character, and he just established a pretty large board. Okay, so 2K, and right here, I'm faced with the same exact predicament. Do I go for board, or do I start trying to go for game? And honestly, like, I don't know how this, I can't remember. This has been a long game. Okay. I go for game here, it looks like. I'm swinging 9 at face. If he gave me Sabo, then I would have gone for his Kaku, and I could have gone about it differently. But since he did things like that, I think I do have to kind of go for game here. I don't think I have a choice. And I've got the Suru to tap down his Sabo. Let's see. I'm doing some kind of math in my head. Who knows what's going on here? So I see how greedy he's going to be. Is he going to let me have a card? Because me swinging 7 first, yes, that was absolutely the right play by him to let me take the Sabo. Because now I can still go for game. But it did also tell me, like, wait a minute. Like, why didn't you save your Sabo then? Like, 2K counter out. So I swing 5 into him. Let's see what he gives me. Gives me a 1K counter. I play out Sabo. A lot of mind games going on right now. I'm sorry, guys. I can't remember everything that's going on just because this has been a long game. But right here, I'm like, okay, I've got 2 blockers, 1 life, and I've got 8K counter in hand. So I can counter out of 2 attacks pretty much without a doubt, unless he just way overcommits. Then I could just use a blocker. So I'm feeling fine. So swing 5 at face. Okay, that seems crazy to me. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll tell you what. I'll just give you this guy. Or I'll just use a blocker. Or do I counter out? No, I do counter out of it. I was going to say, wait a minute. I think I counter out. Another 6K attack. Okay, again, I'm just going to have to counter out of this one. And I take that one because he has no more legitimate attacks. If he puts all 10 on Suru, I'm perfectly fine. So here we go, guys. I've got the Izo and the Suru in hand. This is the perfect combo to win the game. Tap your Rebecca 4 cost. -2 to your Sabo, tap it down with Izo, 9 at face, GG. That was an incredible game, very long game. Lots of back and forth going on, lots of, battles for board control, and it came down to we both have a full board, and we both had no cards in life, because I'm about to take the last few cards, and no cards in hand. That was just, that was just an incredible game, very fun. Rob Lucci, very, very strong deck in OP07. Okay, next up, we've got a mirror match. Got a good old-fashioned mirror match. Let me make sure it's on 2x speed. Okay, and we weren't. There we go. This one, I think, so hear me out. I think the mirror match will have a lot to do with who goes first. I'm not saying you can't win going first, but I do think you're going to be at a pretty decent disadvantage going first. Going second, you're going to be able to get to you're going to be on that 4, 6, 8 curve where you get straight to your Gecko Morias. And you can potentially have Inupe turn 1 or a double Otama turn 1 into like you can be my samurai. There's so many different things going on. But I am trying to battle for the board. Again, since this is a mirror match and these are both mid-range to control style decks, like it kind of depends. They're at least mid-range, and some would argue control as well. It's like, okay, then I need to battle for the board here. I need to keep aggression up on the board. I can't let him have all these cards that he can keep tapping and drawing cards from. You can be my samurai. Unfortunately, we just have to get these cards off the board. So, here we go. 5 into Momonosuke. I'm going to tap down the Otama. I'm going to establish my Ryuma. I'm going to draw 2 Trash 2 with Inupe. And I'm trying to set my hand here. I have to trash 1 Isho just because I like my cards in hand. And I can use an Isho here. I can easily use my Isho next turn. But, man, it would have been nice if I could have saved. But, like, looking back, this might sound crazy, guys. But looking back, I don't think it would have been a bad idea to save both Ishos and just trash a Gecko Moria. Or even trash the 2K counter. Just trash the 2K counter instead. Because that Isho would be monstrous in this next one here. So right here, I trashed 2 cards from his hand. He's down to 5 cards after the draw. And I'm feeling pretty good. Alright, this next turn here I'm a little bit ashamed of. We do have a play mistake coming up here on this next turn. Okay, let's see what my opponent does. Not from my opponent, from me, by the way. From me. So he swings in for 5. I do take that so I can get a little bit more cards in hand. I want a little more options. He plays out a Gecko Moria. And for some reason, it slipped my mind what Isho does. Like, I don't know, like, what was wrong with me. But with him tapping his own Gecko Moria there, I could have, this is what the turn should have been. I have 10 Dawn. Attach 1 to Isho, -3 to your dude there, the Gecko Moria, and then, the whole board. Then I can -1 with my leader effect. I can play out Gecko Moria to KO his Gecko Moria and just... I don't know what I was thinking. Again, guys, I do not even know what I was thinking. 3 into the 0 cost Otama. Obviously, that's just an easy play. So instead, I guess you could argue with this play I'm about to do here, I'm playing more for the later game, but there was no reason for me to do it like this. Like, swing 13 into 9, well, he can potentially counter out. And I'm about to find out the hard way here, he just is going to counter out. Okay, now I did get 3 cards out of hand. And then I try to double down and take him out, and I do. But it's like now my Isho is wide open for an attack. What I should have done there, honestly, is just played out one of my Sabos and defended my guy or Borsellino. Either one's fine. So he goes -2, -2. You could be my Samurai to draw 2. So even though he just played 2 cards out from hand, he just drew 2 more cards and -4 to my 8 cost character. He's going to be able to KO that with a Ryuma or whatever. It's just... Oh, man. Looking back, I wish I had done that turn so much differently because I could have another 8 cost character on the board. It was just strictly a play mistake. And now look how aggressive he can be because he can pop my card that easily. Oh, man. But it happens, right? It does happen. And he still has 4 life. So, again, maybe you could argue attacking into his guy. And you guys tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. Maybe attacking into his guy was better because it used so many cards from his hand. Like, yeah, his Gecko Moria got him 2 cards, but then he lost 3 cards to defend it. And he still lost it at the end of that fight. So maybe that was worth it, and he didn't get any extra cards from his life. You guys tell me what y'all think. But looking back, like, the way that I would do it in hindsight would have been exactly like I said. Like, who cares about the cards in his hand? I'm going to eat those up with attacks normally, right? Because just to defend his life, it would have cost him 3 cards from hand from a 9k attack. Okay, 9 into 5. Okay. I can't block this. And now this guy can be so aggressive. You see what's happening? He's capitalizing on my blunder, even though he might not even know I did a blunder. He doesn't even probably know it's in my hand. But the point is, he is going to be able to capitalize on this. So 6 into 6, I'm trying to get cards out of his hand. It does end up trashing my guy, but that's okay because I have a Gecko Moria to play this turn if I need to. Okay, 5 into there. By the way, looking back, I should have swung 9 into the Ryuma, so that way I wouldn't lose the card on board. Just looking back again. Okay, so I'm going to use you could be my Samurai, draw 2 cards. I need to establish blockers. And not just one blocker, because Perona can very easily get out of one blocker. Very easily with the leader effect. Because for Borsellino, she can just tap Borsellino. But even for Sabo, you're not safe, because she can play out a Suru or a Helmeppo or whatever she might be running. Minus the cost of your Sabo, tap it down, and then swing in for a lot, and you're done. Right? So you do have to be very careful about that. But hey, moving on to this point of the game, I am going to play nothing but blockers, right? There's not going to be a turn that goes by where I don't drop a blocker. Okay, swing for 7, easy. Rest my character here in 2k counter out. Okay, your turn. Or let's see what else he's got. Plays out the Sabo, guys. Plays out. This is the new 8 cost, 9,000 power Sabo that can KO a 5 cost and a 3 cost or less if you trash a card from your hand. But I had played Sabo that turn, the 5 cost, where all my characters cannot be KO'd. So played around it perfectly, even though I didn't even know he was playing this card. That was just, total happenstance. Or totally, how do you say it? Like, not luck, but like, that was just, yeah, I guess you could say it was luck. I just played around it inadvertently. That's what I'm looking for. So pop that character. I've got some big cards on the board. Swing 9. Now I'm not even afraid if he can tap down my guy, because look at my hand. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11k in counter. So I am going to give him a blocker here, though. There's no point to waste my counter right now. And now it's time to just go for game, right? Swing 9. Swing 9. And let's see what he gives me. I'm just going to load everything up on my leader. Swing 15. Even if he could have gotten out, he almost could, by the way. Look at his hand. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. He was 1k short of getting out of it, but it wouldn't have mattered, right? Because then I just attack him with Borsellino, and that's that. But, hear me out. Even if he didn't, or even if he could have somehow gotten out of this turn, if he swung for 15, I had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 15, 16 in hand. So I actually could have gotten out of another attack, right? Or one of his attacks. Very funny. Okay, last but not least, we got one more game. We had 4 games for today. This was against Belo Betty, guys. Now, aggro, I think this deck struggles the most against yellow and aggro. And this deck is like a combination of those. And I'm not saying that it cannot beat yellow, but I do think it does help a lot, to... number 1, to go second against yellow. And number 2, you're going to need a lot of help from your deck, getting a lot of Ryumas to deal with their cards on the board and cost reduction and all that good stuff. Let me make sure we're on 2x speed. We are. Okay. So again, guys, this is Belo, and this guy seemed like a pretty competent player. He didn't just like waste cards. Now, of course, I'm going to be able to get that card easily. I think I probably should have tried to. Okay. Excuse me. I was going for a play with my Anupes, and my Momonosuke there. That's why I didn't attack with the Anupe. I was hoping to get a "You Can Be My Samurai" off the top, but I should have done that search first, so that way I could have attacked into his dude with my Anupe, and then attacked into it again if he defended, or into face otherwise. But it is good to keep your characters alive in a deck like this, like in a deck like Perona, because you do use those cards. Like I said, you do use those cards. So here I get a "You Can Be My Samurai," but I really want a Ryuma in this situation. So right here, we're going to tap these two. I get a Ryuma. Now I can tap his guy down, pop his guy, his Lindbergh. And I use the Hiyori first to cheat it out to draw another card, just so I can keep cycling through my deck. I'm trying to get to my 2K counters, because those are going to be what gets me through this matchup. This is a tough matchup. Aggro is getting stronger and stronger. Like, they've recently got a lot of very good cards since EV01 and going into OP07. Because EV01, they're getting Kid and Killer. In OP07, they're getting Dragon. Dragon is an 8-cost, 9K rusher that also distributes 2 Dawn to something else on the board. It can even be to itself. So it could be, if you want it to be, it could be an 8-cost, 11K rusher. And then Kid and Killer is a 4-cost, 7K rusher if your opponent's at 2 or less life. So aggro has become very strong again, and Red-Purple Law is up there, right? Red-Purple Law is very, very strong. Red-Purple Law is also pretty decent into Perona. Red-Purple Law is decent into pretty much everything right now. It has a very strong matchup against most decks because it's so aggressive. Okay, so I'm going to keep attacking into this Karasu and try to beat it down. Now, Perona, with the ability to tap down a character every turn that costs 4 or less, that is so massive at you maintaining board control and winning the game over, and winning over the course of the game. So check out this play here. My opponent has a 5-cost 6K, a 5-cost 6K, plays out the Morley for free. He swings in for 5. He was baiting me to use my Borsalino, because look what he does next. He had the Rush character in hand, time to trash a card. Belo gets her effect. Everything gets plus 3,000 that she needs. Swing 9, swing 9, swing 7. I'm like, holy crap. He's got 2 7K swings, 2 9K swings. This is really bad. I should not have gotten greedy. I could have just used my Yamasan to counter out of that that first attack. Okay. But then he probably wouldn't have done this play, right? He would have just kept building up his board. It really depends on what was happening. That used up pretty much my entire hand, but I was able to defend out of that pretty nicely and still stay at 2 life and keep my blocker alive. So we're in a pretty good spot here. All right here, now we're in full-on damage control mode. These cards have got to go. I'm going to swing 5 into 4. Please give me a card. I probably should have swung, like, looking back, I wish I had swung 4 into 4. But that got that card out of the way. He didn't want to use a 2K counter on that. And I figure he doesn't have all 2K counters in hand. He probably has a 1K and a 2K in his hand. That's what I'm assuming. So I swing 7 into this 6. He 2K counters out. Very nice. So now it's like, okay, now I'm just going to swing 6 into 6, I think. Or do I swing 6 into 8? Or 8 into 6. I can't even do math. No. That would have been the wrong call. You swing 6 into 6 here. You swing 6 into 6 here. Even if he is bluffing, it doesn't matter. Rest down one of his guys. I think, I'll say the right call is to rest that guy down, because I don't care what card he cheats out, right? He has 10 Dawn. He can get these cards out very easily at this point in the game. So pop that with Ryuma, and I'm in a decent position. He has 2 cards on the board. I have 2 life, and I have 3 cards in hand. He doesn't know what I have in hand. He doesn't know. So, okay, he swings 7, which is smart. He swings in. The only thing that can get me here, realistically, like in my mind, I'm thinking like the only thing that can get me is another one of those rush cards. And if he has another rush card, then I feel like I probably was dead there. Because what he could have done is played out the rush card, trashed the other card from hand, and gone plus 3,000 across the 2 bodies, and I'd have been in a lot of trouble. Now, 6 into 8, that was a little bit clumsy. He should have attacked into my Borsalino, because attacking into my Ryuma allowed me to KO that character. And now that was just pure value for me. Okay, so right here, I had 2 options. I could have either played out my Gecko Moria and just, like, swung once at life. Maybe, not swing more than once. Just swing once at life, play out my Gecko Moria, and get back some blockers and stuff like that. But instead, I swing 6. He gets a body. I'm like, oh no. So now I can't defend what he has, right? Even if I play out a... I don't know. I probably could have played out a Gecko Mori here, but I'm like, you know what? He only has 1 life. I have to hit twice. and he only has 2 cards in hand. So, here we go. We're going to try this. Swing for 9 and swing for 9. So he would have to have exactly a 2K, 2K, and a 1K. He has to have that or it's game over. And he did not have it. He had that new card Dragon we were just talking about, and a Lindbergh doesn't have a counter either. So he only had 1K in hand. But, like I said, I think realistically, after testing the water with that first attack and him getting no trigger, I think it would have been a decent play there to play out Gecko Moria and get another blocker back from my trash. Now, unless I didn't have another blocker, then that changes everything, right? That changes everything. Well, okay, well, that was it for the decks. Let's go ahead, that was it for the games. Let's go ahead and check out the deck lists now. Move my face over. I'm getting better, guys. I'm getting better at remembering. So this is the list I was running. Let me let the cards come up here. It's going to take it's going to take a second for these images to load in. It just takes a little bit. All right. It looks like, okay, we're good there. And now let me bring in the green cards. There are a few options that we're going to be able to go through. There's definitely a few options. Make sure this loads in. There we go. Okay, it's set. So first and foremost, for Wano, these are the Wano options we have. We're already running most of the good stuff, but I do think there is some argument to run Yamato, because this is, first of all, it's a 1K counter. You can just replace Yamasan with Yamato. At least that's my personal opinion. I think I run Yamasan because I want the bigger body. They're both 5 costs. They're both land of Wano. They're both 1K counters. So then it comes down to, what do you want from the card? Do you want a 7K beater that can help you battle for board control, or do you want something that can potentially cripple your opponent? Right? That's what needs to go through your head. Right? That's like when it comes to making the decision. Denjiro, you cannot really run because, number one, he doesn't have a 1K counter. Number two, he needs a Kazuki Oden leader. And, you know, that's it. It's just 1 and 2. That's why you can't really run that card. You can if you want to, but I would not suggest it. I would suggest otherwise. Everything else is what we're pretty much already running all the good stuff. We're running the Otama. We're running the Ryuma. This card is interesting, and I like it a lot. And it might be worth trying out in the deck at some point, because you can combo this later in the game with cards like Ryuma, because at that rate you could just -1 to the cost of something with your Perona. Like if it's say it's a 4 cost character, or 5 cost character, excuse me, say it's a 5 cost character, you can give it -1 to its cost, you can rest it with Yamato and then smack it with Ryuma. It's also another target you can cheat out with your Hiyori, your 4 cost Hiyori. That's an option. I'm not saying it's a great option, but it is something to think about. Okay, now let me go ahead and get off the Wano stuff. The Navy stuff is really powerful. Like this Isho, the Borsellino, and the Surus, these are just, they add so much staying power. It's really kind of crazy, guys. It adds so much staying power. But other cards to consider, so let me say this. I would say that the Sabos and the Borselinos, those are mandatory. I don't think you can play without those. The same thing with the Gecko Moria. However, for your Isho spots and your Stussy spots, I like Isho a lot because it does help you against the yellow matchup, because people are drawing so many cards now. There's an argument to even go up another Isho, to be completely honest with you. There's actually an argument to go up another Isho, maybe even drop down a Stussy. I don't know. It's up to you. It's going to come down to your preference. But some other options. There are some other options with cards like Doflamingo. This card is very strong. Eustace Kid, like we saw in the first version of the deck. Zoro. Not so much Basil Hawkins, by the way, because you need to have a Supernova leader to get its full blocker effect and everything. But otherwise, it's still a decent card that has really strong resilience. But let me get down to the black cards here. Kuzan is another very, very possible option here to use. Like it is not a bad card by any means. And in a deck like Perona, you're going to have a few options by playing this, right? You're going to be able to pop a 6 or less if you choose to with the leader's effect, -1, and then play out Kuzan. Or you're going to be able to tap down cards with the effect as well and do what you need to with board control. It has a lot of options there. Because remember, if you play this card out, you can tap down a 9 or less with your leader's effect. That would be massive, and then you could attack it from there. Again, it comes down to what you want to do. And there's one other major, like, big, large card that we got to look at. It's this one. Sabo. This was in the last game, right? Versus the, I think, was it the last game? No, it was the second to last game, excuse me, against I think it was against the mirror match. This Sabo is an 8-cost, 9,000 power character. That's already on par with like Gecko Moria stat line, like that's fine, and same thing with Isho. But this has an on-play, trash a card from your hand, and remember, we're drawing a lot of cards, so that's not a detriment like it used to be. you're going to be able to trash one card for hand and then KO up to KO up to one of your opponent's cost 5 or less characters, and up to one of your opponent's cost 3 or less characters. Sorry, guys, I was struggling there. Now, remember what that means in this deck. Add 1 to one of those numbers. So, in other words, you can hit a 6 or less, or a 4, or a 5 and a 4 or less, a 6 and a 3, or a 5 and 4, because of the leader's effect. So, without any investment, any extra investment, you can hit a 6 and a 3, or a 5 and a 4. Like, that's massive. That's massive. And you're establishing this huge body. Where did it go? I just lost it. There it is. You're establishing this huge body. It's just solid, right? It's just a very solid in-game card for you to win out with. I don't even think this deck has been fully figured out yet. I think there's still maybe some argument to try a Land of Wano plus Navy version, where like maybe you do get rid of the Stussies, and maybe you do, you know, maybe go down on the Anupes or something like that, go up a Sabo, but you, or actually, I was going to say, you know, honestly, maybe there's even an argument. This just popped in my head. Maybe we mess around with the Dressrosa version of the deck. You know, like Land of Wano plus, like Land of Wano plus what I'm saying, right? Land of Wano being the primary theme, and then the secondary theme, like right now, it's like practically Navy with Gecko Moria. But maybe there's an argument for Dressrosa, where you got the one-legged toy soldiers, you got the Sabos, maybe even add Rebecca. We'll have to see. You know, that's something we might have to play test with later. But yeah, other than that, guys, the list looks pretty good. I can't think of anything else I'd want to add, except maybe even, like I said, if we go, let me say this, the full deck list is 50% Land of Wano, and the other 50% is just utility, added cards from all kinds of different, you know, areas of the game. But there might be an argument to go, like, part Navy. We're say we go like 50% Wano, 50% Navy, and then we can get rid of cards like Anupe and go like 4 brand new, get rid of Stussy and just go Sakazuki, because again, if you plop down an Isho, well, now you can hit what I think that's everything in the game, right? Because 1 plus 3 is 4. Excuse me, you'll be able to hit a 9 or less with Sakazuki if you have Isho and Perona down. And again, like I said, trashing cards in this deck it's really not that hard to, like, it's not that bad. You're drawing with Momonosuke, you're drawing with Otama, you're drawing with, you're cycling with Anupe, you're drawing with Hiyori, and if Anupe becomes brand new, well, then you're drawing with brand new. So, I don't know. I do think there's an argument to be had there, but the biggest argument against it that I would say is actually losing your Gecko Morias, because at that point, maybe you have to even fit in something like a Hogback to snag those back from the trash. I don't know. It might get too complicated at that point. Kuzan would be a decent addition to the deck, but I don't think we're struggling with card draw, so it might not be. It would only be strong for the when attacking effect at that point. And if that is the only reason you're running it, maybe you just run Laboon in the place of it, where you can just get -4 whenever, counter 1,000. This might actually be a really strong card to mess with later, you know, down the road. If we can ever fit Rebecca into the list, the 4-cost Rebecca that grabs 4 from the trash, or grabs a 5 to 7, or excuse me, a 3 to 7 from the trash and plays out a 3 or less from my hand, maybe this card enters the conversation. Because, guys, this is just a good card, and I do think that the more aggressive deck lists do well into Perona. Like, I'm not saying, again, let me be very clear. Excuse me. Whenever I'm saying a deck does well into a certain deck, I'm not saying the other one cannot win or vice versa. What I'm trying to say is that there's a favorable matchup for the more aggressive deck lists. And a card like this just murders decks like Zoro. So if, like, we'll have to see. We have to wait for more and more playtesting to see what's working. But if aggro becomes a serious issue for Black-Green Perona, you go in Brook. You just add Brook to the list. I don't know what you're going to take out. Maybe you take out the Yamasans. Maybe you don't even worry about the combination with Hiyori. Maybe you just use Hiyori for Ryuma. Because I think I used it for Yamasan like one time in my playtesting. Every other time was for Ryuma. So that way I could get this card in my trash, draw a card, establish the 4-cost 6K that KOs a card, so it was like a free cycle. And later in the game, I'm going to be able to recycle Hiyori with my Gecko Moria to play out another Ryuma from hand. So there might be some argument for that. And maybe there is an argument for putting in a card like Hogback to get back your Gecko Morias and your Ryumas when you've used them all up. Maybe as like a 2-0 spot. I do think that is a very, you know, I do think that is a decent, let me type in Thriller Bark, here we go. I think there is a decent interaction there. Because remember, guys, Hogback can grab back, you have to return 2 cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck, which is also not a bad thing, because that one game against Lucci, where it was like a 20-minute game, I think I had like 15 or 14 cards left in my deck. It was a very long game. But with Hogback, going to be able to return 2 cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck in any order. It doesn't matter what kind of card they are. And then put up to 1 Thriller Bark card other than Hogback from your trash to your hand. So maybe that will allow us to get back and get more value from our Ryumas and from our Gecko Morias later in the game, and potentially a Nupe if we needed to cycle, things like that. There's a lot of ways we can go with this. Another card that would be kind of interesting in here would actually be Thriller Bark, because I trash my Nupes pretty early on. And maybe at that point, like I said, if we decide to go Land of Wano plus Thriller Bark, that could be really, really interesting. I'm just saying that could be very interesting because of the Thriller Bark stage. Because if we can recycle our Nupes, recycle our Cerberus, and maybe even, who knows, maybe, well, that's probably it. I was going to say I wouldn't. Actually, this new guy here from OP07, this is Captain John, 2 cost, 3,000 power, 1k counter, slash character. On play, trash 2 cards from the top of your deck and give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost during this turn. So that might be another card you can get back with Thriller Bark to, like, another cost reduction plus your Perona's effect. That could be pretty interesting too. So you guys see I'm all over the place right now. I do apologize. Now I'm even thinking about Absalom, but I'm all over the place right now because there are so many different ways to play this deck. There are so many different options we can go, that we can use in this deck. So we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to figure it out. Even a Jiguru of the Wind, or this guy Kumasi. Like, these are other 2 cost cards we can play. Kumasi would be very, very interesting, right? If you bring this back, they have to attack into it every turn. Or if you have, like, say you have like 10 or 15 cards in your trash, which is very, very, it's going to happen a lot, right? He'll get plus 3,000 power. So attached to, he's at 5, plus 3 is at 8. He's a 2 cost 8k coming back every single turn. That could be very interesting. And it's a 1k counter to get out of your hand early on. Anyway, again, there's a lot of different routes we can go with the deck. But I think currently what we're seeing on the screen here, let me get rid of the Thriller Bark. I think what we see on the screen here, where it's like a primary Land of Wano engine, and then running just really strong utility cards from all different kind of archetypes or types or whatever, this is probably the best we've seen so far. But again, who's to say that Land of Wano plus Navy will not be better? Who's to say Land of Wano plus Thriller Bark will not be better? Or Land of Wano plus Dressrosa? As crazy as that sounds, guys, because let's just look at Dressrosa. Again, we're just cooking right now, right guys? We're just cooking. You've got ways to do minus cost with like an Orlumbus. I don't know about Cavendish, because you have to rest your leader. That wouldn't be as good, but it would still be interesting. There's a lot of things here. Monshri comes in with this. The Luffy. Sabo, we're already running. You could run the 1 cost Searcher Rebecca wherever she is. Could also maybe run Rebecca the 4 cost at that point, even though Rebecca cannot search Rebecca. This card's very interesting as well. Oh no, this is if your leader is Dressrosa. That side card's kind of interesting. I don't want to get off topic, but I do want to kind of mess around with a aggressive version of Dressrosa, because this is like a 3 cost 6k in Dressrosa, right? If your leader has the Dressrosa type and your leader is active, this guy gets plus 2,000 power, period, right? So unless you're tapping out with Kairos or some type of effect like that, or from Leo, like all of a sudden, this is just a 3 cost 6k with a 1k counter. Dressrosa searchable. That'd be really cool. But okay, that's about it. I don't want to go too far down the Dressrosa, down that's a little too far off the beaten path we're on currently. But I'm just saying there's some potential there. And again, just to bring it back up, maybe now that they have, where's the card? Now that Otama is available, this card right here, and Hiyori, maybe there's an argument to go back to like the Don Quixote stuff as well, because you're going to have access to Doflamingo, you're going to have access to Rosinante. It just opens up a whole other thing. Oh, and there's one other card I wanted to look at too, was Eustace Kid, because we did see this in some of the earlier lists. This would be very powerful as well. And real quick, before we go any further, let me also bring back up those decks, just to look at a few more from OP07 for Perona. We'll just kind of scroll through some of these real quick and just get an idea. This was the first one we already looked at. And if you want to check any of these deck lists out, just go over to OnePieceTopDecks.com and check them out so you can study them. Look at this. This one was running Sakazuki. It's running the kids. And this one's running X-Drake. That's another card I almost forgot to mention. X-Drake is a great card. And this was in the original Perona, because this was, first of all, it was Navy searchable. When I say original Perona, I mean the OP06 version that was Navy/Don Quixote Pirates before they swapped over to Land of Wano. This is Navy searchable, 5 cost 6k with a 1k counter, already pretty decent. And then on play, KO 4 or less. KO one of your opponents rested 4 or less, just like Ryuma. So it was like a second Ryuma effect, right? And this one, of course, is running 4 of the Ryuma, because this is kind of the star of the show, guys. This Ryuma puts in a lot of work. Very, very solid. This one's running the Doflamingo, like I said, the kids, the Morias, and it's running the Sakazukis. This card is just good, guys. Like, I don't know how to say it. The card is just good. Let's go to the next one. We'll just kind of breeze through these real quick. This one's running the Brooks, running the Sabos. This one was running a Supernova package. Again, that's what I didn't even talk about. Maybe if you choose to go with Eustace Kid, maybe the option then is to instead go Navy, instead go Supernova. You know, there's sky's the limits with a deck like this, guys. This leader effect is so versatile and like useful. You can really make this deck go whichever way you want to. This is running 4 Sabos, by the way. 4 8-cost 9Ks. They can pop at 5 and 3. Very solid here. Okay, we've got like 2 more we're going to run through real quick. This one's running the Rebecca engine. Again, I'm just trying to give you guys some ideas. This one's running a little bit of Thriller Bark stuff with like Perona, the 2K counter Perona. It is running the Zoros. And then everything else I think we've seen, including the 0-cost 3K counter. A lot of really good stuff here. What else? I think we got 2 more. This one's running the Shirahoshi. This is a new 1-cost 2K counter. Activate main, rest this character, return 2 cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck in any order. If your opponent has 6 more cards, they trash a card. So it's like hand destruction. And surprisingly, he's not even running Isho. So I don't even know why he'd run this, honestly. Like, why not just run Suru? Maybe this should be Suru. Maybe that was a mistake. Who knows? And then last but not least, we'll look at this last one. This one we got 5 and 0, but this was before the Land of Wano stuff, the OP07 stuff came out. This was running Hody Jones. It's got the 8-cost Rosinante to cheat out 5-cost green characters. And the only character you can cheat out is this one. As funny as that is. So I'm not really sure about that one. But everything else in the deck looks really strong. All right, guys, that's it. I'm done rambling. Let me go back to the deck here. Like I said, this is what I'm running currently, what I was running in the videos. I think this list has like endless potential. Let me go ahead and put up the patrons page, and you know, we'll talk about that in a second. But like, I think this deck has endless potential. Black Green Perona. I think it is so good. We'll have to see what it struggles against. We're still waiting for a major tournament to happen over in OP07 in the East. We'll have to see what happens. But from playtesting this deck, seeing what people are saying about it, watching videos from the East of Black Green Perona beating up on all kinds of different deck lists, I think this has a seat at the table. At least A tier, right? Like, I don't want to say it's S tier yet. I don't know. I think it still needs to prove itself. But so do a lot of decks from OP07, right? Jewelry Bonnie, the new OP07 green leader. Yeah, it's a great deck, but it still has to prove itself, right? Lucci, Gecko Moria in OP07. It's already proven itself in OP06, but in OP07, there has not been a big deck to win. NL, like, we're hearing about all these incredible decks. Red Purple Law, NL, Jewelry Bonnie, Lucci, Gecko Moria making a resurgence. I think I already said NL. And then, like, just all these different decks, but we're not seeing any major tournaments to back up the results with. So hopefully we see that in the future. Right, guys. Again, big shout out to my patrons. You know, Asian Baka, Michael Powell, Tropical Bobcat, Van Buren, Patrick DG, Dragon JT, Optimistic Prime Brian. Big thanks to you guys. Big thanks to everyone watching these videos who likes. You know, if you sub to the channel, comment, share, stuff like that, it helps me out so much, guys. It helps me out big time. I really do appreciate you guys, each and every one of you. And as usual, if you got any comments, questions, suggestions, please not hesitate to put them down in the comment section below. And hope you guys enjoyed. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, guys. Peace.